Well, the winery came much later. In fact, the winery we started in 2006. Our original family history really starts in the late 1800s. And when my great-grandfather and grandmother immigrated from Germany direct to Lodi. They came by way of someone in Lodi that they knew, saying there's opportunity. So they packed up and came and came straight to Lodi. When they hit Lodi, they bought a little house right where the present-day Lodi Memorial Hospital is,
really?
and they started raising a family. And my grandfather was born in Lodi in the late 1870s. There were four boys. As they grew, they started farming. They started leasing ground in the early 1900s, and as they grew, they planted watermelons, and they actually used the watermelons to market up and down the West Coast. So a couple of the brothers would stay home, one was my grandfather, would stay home and do the farming at the time of marketing, and two others one would go to San Francisco, one would go to Seattle. And then they had a steamer that would go up and down the coast, bringing produce and products to each of the coastal communities as they went up towards Seattle. So the watermelons would be loaded up and they would be distributed going all the way up to Seattle, and that's how they really got their start. Now the Lang family then, they actually got into the wine grape business almost by accident. Yeah, they were still very much in the watermelon business, but they bought a piece of ground with vineyard on it, and from that was in about 1917, and from that point on, we were in the grape business as a family.
Sure.
So my grandfather wasn't really born on the farm, but was born in Lodi. My dad definitely was born right on the farm, right where we still own. If there's anything about the Langs, is that once we get something, we hang on to it. We still have the old home that he was born and raised in, and then of course I was born right within 4 miles of it, and Kinder was born 4 miles of where I was born and raised.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about the transition then from watermelons to grapes. Of course, Germans are not necessarily known for wines, other than a good Gewürztraminer or something, you know. But why the transition then? Was it just simply popularity and market demand that drove you to the grapes?
Yes, and there was the matter of watermelon and verticillium wilt, which is a fungal disease that attacks the watermelon as it grows. And if you didn't have resistant seed to verticillium wilt, they would get out just about the time when they would produce, when you'd start harvesting the watermelon, and they would shrivel and die. So, and that in itself created the catalyst for the brothers to say, this isn't going to work for us, our seed will not carry on. And they would go from one piece of ground to another and wouldn't stay with the same piece of ground. When they started buying ground, then it really became and more of an urgency to do something else. Yeah. The one little patch, a 10-acre patch of wine grapes that they bought into when they bought the ground, about 75 acres. That gave them, well, why not? And then they started planting grapes. As they expanded, they would use the watermelon to actually plant between the rows of grapes. So as they were waiting for that grape to mature to crop, it takes 3 years. They would raise the watermelons. Then once the grapes started producing, they would develop some more land and do the same thing. So their business plan really was to raise 2 crops at the same time at an initial growing period, and be able to have the revenue there to do it. That's very different than today. That just does not go on much today.
So let's talk about then the transition from simply growing then to the winery, and why make that shift? I mean, because obviously you were successful in growing,
yes,
but now make the shift to the winery. Why that?
Well, again, it's a realization. It wasn't like a thunderstruck or something. It was a commitment to be a generational farming family. and our kids. There are five of us between Randy, my twin, and myself, and our two wives, and it was they were indicating they were coming back to farm, or they were going to come back, and that started the thinking a little bit, but it was really economic reality. As this economy and as the world has become smaller, and global economy and global economics play a bigger and bigger role in all our lives, it was beginning to do the same in our wine grape business. So in California, if they were short on supply, they had a global reach like never before over the last 15 years. So if we were short on Cabernet, they would go down to Chile to get a supply, to bring it up, to supply their line. Or if they were short on Chardonnay, they'd go to Australia. So it became really a realization that if it is a global economy, we were going to be in danger of becoming a commodity grower as opposed to growing a wine grape unique to Lodi, unique to the region, and sell it as such. And we as a family just weren't willing to continue down that road and become a commodity grower, that a grape is a grape is a grape. We felt that there needed to be a distinction. So that really started us moving in the direction of the winery, and it was really to add value to our product at the farm gate, so that we could afford to be able to be a generational farm family, raise children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren in the fashion that we were raised, and have that opportunity still in California. The California regulatory environment, like all other parts of the states, that's always getting a little bit more onerous, a little bit more challenging. Population, we're a state of 35 million people. Lodi, when I was growing up, it was like 20,000, 23,000. It's now 60,000. So it really became evident that if we were going to really survive as a farming enterprise and a farm family, we needed to have a product that was going to go directly to the end consumer, directly to you.
So has the winery become what you envisioned it to be, or are you still getting there?
Ah, that's a great question. You know, when the question of being, what is the winery, and how has it developed the way we thought it would? And in many respects, yes. In that when you plant a vineyard, it takes 3 years to crop, 3 years to start a revenue stream. Those first 3 years are the most challenging, because everything that you pay for, the vines, the trellis system, the irrigation system, and all of that, it becomes everything going out and nothing coming in.
Sure.
So it's staying power is farming is a very high capitalization enterprise to be in. So our business plan, when we started our management business and our farm and grew our farm back in the early 70s, Randy and I, it was like if we were going to grow our own family property by an acre, we wanted to grow our management business, farming for others like you, for instance, by 2 acres, and so a 2-to-1 ratio. And so we used the management side of the business to finance all that growth that we did, and it's worked well. We started with a farm of about 135 acres, and today we have a family farm of about 1,400. And we farm about 6,000 acres for other management clients, and they become our profit center that allowed us to do all that farming and all that developing, and be able to meet our economic and meet our expenses. The same thing that's happened with our winery. We built a winery not just for the size of our brand, because it's very small. We built the winery with the thought that we were going to attract other wineries to be able to take our vines, our grapes, from vine to wine, and make wine for them with their protocols in a winery that was state-of-the-art, and have them finance our winery while we grew our brand the way we wanted to grow it.